Hello everybody, welcome back. I do hope you had a nice and fruitful couple of hours off. I've had a nice lunch and a bit of a chat. Started working on my shopping list to give to Lily later on for all the things that I need her to order for me. I'm sure Lily's very happy about that. We have got a wonderful craft along for you today, and we have a guest. But first of all, I'm going to introduce you. It's Lily.
Blimey me, talk about get your teeth, and it's usually me, isn't it? Oh dear, it could be a long 2 hours. Blimey me. Good job we've got a project to fill the whole 2 hours. Keep Becky quiet. But anyway, we have got a... I know, start as I mean to go on, eh? Blimey me.
She's a feisty one, that Lily. You know, everyone says, oh, Lily, she's so sweet. She's...
I'm not sure anybody does say that anymore, to be fair.
I don't think they do. No, they know the score now.
Oh dear. At least there's no games on that on this show, so not too much competitiveness. Hopefully, I'm sure we can find a way.
I'm sure we'll find a way.
But it's all about the craft along this afternoon, and it's all about those amazing decorative lace nesting dies. You know, I love a nested die. We're talking about it this morning actually, so I'm delighted that I can bring this craft along to you this afternoon. We're going to be creating this box, which is of course going to be ideal for Valentine's Day, anniversaries, anything like that at all. When you just want to bring a little bit of love into your craft room, then this project is going to be absolutely perfect for that. Going to mix and match some of our older dies, some of our decoupage topper pads into there, and some of our newer papers and cardstock as well, with those beautiful ultimate paper pads. Quite an easy project to put together, but I really hope you'll join me on this craft along. Maybe crafting along now or crafting along at a later date. It's always lovely to have your company, however you're joining us, however you're crafting on this afternoon in January. Yep, it is still January, believe it or not. Don't know how it's still January, but it is. But this is our craft along, and we're going to show you in just a moment all the materials you need to create this particular project.
Fantastic. I'm really looking forward to this, and like you say, really usable for lots of different things. Using those nesting dies. I'm looking forward to that. We do have to say, can we say hello to our guest? Is that okay? No, can we say in a minute? Oh, we're going to do the shopping list first. Sorry. I thought we'd do the shopping list first, and then we're going to say hello to our special guest. Do you want me to do this? Because I'm going to have to put my glasses on. No, Lily, you can do this one. I don't have to put my glasses on then.
Okay, right. Time for story time. Let's read out exactly what we need to create this project. So first up, you're going to need from those lace nesting dies, that swirling heart frame die set. Then you'll need your Precious Poppies die set with the coordinating Precious Poppies decoupage topper pad, Botanic Garden 12 by 12 inch paper pad, and the Rainbow Pearl 12 inch by 12 inch paper pad. Those are the ones that came as part of those ultimate paper pads just a few months ago. You'll also need your fresh white Centaura Pearl and also some vellum. Next up, in terms of your tools, you're going to need your, of course, your Gemini 2 die cutting machine. You're going to need your Scoremaster scoreboard or any scoreboard of your choice. It doesn't have to be the Scoremaster. You'll need your scissors, pokey tool, your Collal all-purpose and tacky glues, your foam tape or foam pads, and some red liner tape as well. So not too many items that you need in order to create this project, but the crucial thing, of course, is those incredible lace nesting dies. You'll find all the details of those over on the website. I know Becky will be running through the deal with you a little bit later on in the show, but that's what you need. But of course, it's not just about me and Becky on this show. We have got a very special guest as well.
We do. Are we able to go to our guest? Yes. Hello, Stephanie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well. Nice to see you on the screen, because I've seen your name but never actually seen your face. So nice to put your name to your face.
Well, now we see each other.
And are you also, have you got the same dies as Lily has for this craft along using the heart?
I do. I have everything.
Fantastic. Looking forward to this. And are you making this as a gift to give to somebody, or are you going to keep it in a special place where you put all your craft alongs?
I'm not really sure, but with neighbors on Valentine's Day, we're going to a local restaurant that's a BYOB, and they're going to have entertainment. And I thought, well, maybe I'll bring this to put in the center of the table.
Oh, that sounds like a lovely idea. I like that idea. And whereabouts are you, Stephanie? Because you don't sound like
I'm
you're
in Farmingdale, New Jersey.
In New Jersey. Fantastic.
Monmouth County. We're about 15, 20 minutes from Belmar.
Okay. And you've got good weather there, or is it a bit snowy?
It's sunny today. We did have kind of a gray, snowy day yesterday. They originally predicted to 6 inches of snow, but maybe we got 2 to 3.
Oh, manageable then.
Very manageable.
I mean, I have to say 2 or 3 inches of snow here nothing can move. The cars can't drive, the buses don't go, the trains don't work, nobody can do anything. So, you know, good that you're all set up. 2 or 3 inches of snow, manageable where you are. That's brilliant. And as you know, if you during the craft along, if there's any time that you need to stop or go back, just put your hand up. We'll be keeping an eye on you. And hopefully we're going to be making some absolutely fabulous little boxes.
This should be great.
Looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it.
Brilliant. Okay, we've got a few hellos to say. Hayley is here saying hello again, Becky, Lily and everyone. Super excited for this craft-along. It's such a lovely project. It really is. It's a gorgeous project we've got here. Kirsty D says good afternoon, everyone. Phil says good afternoon, all. Sarah says, ready to take notes, Lily? I'm going to make it later.
Oh.
Wendy says, hi, Becky, Lily. Becky? Twice? Oh, Becky's doing Becky's a social media superstar. That confused me. I thought there was me and a me.
2 Beckys.
2 Beckys.
One is bad enough.
See what I mean? Feisty. Feisty. This is why I like to win the craft along. So all the time she's saying things like this, I can be going, oh, I won the game.
Unfortunately, though, not today.
Not today. Hello, Becky, Lily, CTV, and all the crafters. I am having a lovely afternoon. I just tried my wax melts and doing some crafting, and my template library has also arrived. I love those wax melts. Me too. I think they look great. Lynn Blackledge is here saying hello, and Laurie says hello, friends, watching from Gilbert, Arizona. Do remember, if you want to ask any questions during the craft along, please just pop them in the notes or the comments. I will be able to let Lily know as we're going through. But we should really get started in a moment, shouldn't we? Because we're going to be using these beautiful lace nesting dies that we've got here, which are just underneath. We talked about lace and nesting dies earlier. Nesting dies really are such a key item for us to have in our crafty stash, aren't they? And these are absolutely beautiful. This first one is your ornate ovals. We then have your delicate doily frames. We have another circular one, which is your lace doily frames. Rectangular one, which is your antique frames. They're all so beautiful. And then we've got a square one, which is your floral lace frames. And then finally, the one that I believe we're going to be using today, which is your swirling heart frames. This whole collection is £70 or $90. Platinum price is £56 or $72. I am right in saying this is one we're using, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Can you imagine if I was like, nah, I'm just going to
no.
freestyle?
No. Yeah, freestyle. Make it up as you go along. Yeah, are you using them at all?
No.
No,
just you know, dancing to my own tune today, quite clearly. Don't worry, no, we are certainly going to use the heart one for this project, because like I say, I think it's going to be ideal for creating something like this for Valentine's Day.
Yep.
Absolutely. Should we get started?
Absolutely.
Should we do it? Right, so we're going to start off with a little bit of cutting down our piece of cardstock. We're going to go on to matting and layering, and we're not going to bring in our die cutting until a little bit later on in the project. Now, I had to bring in one of my favourite cardstocks. Now, we talk quite often about what's our most used cardstock, what's our favourite cardstock. I'll open up the discussion. You guys at home, let me know what's your favourite cardstock.
Ooh.
What cardstock do you use the most of?
Oh. What's your one?
My one that I use the most of has to be multi-purpose.
Right.
Because I use it for most of my card bases. Yeah. It's 300 GSM, it's that white cardstock. It's the one that you can create for stamping, die cutting, card bases, construction, all the rest of it. But you know, I can never make a decision. I can never already choose one. If I'm going for not sort of, I'd still say it's a core cardstock, but I wouldn't say it's an absolute staple cardstock. I'd say it's something a little bit more snazzy. It has to be my Centura Pearl Fresh White. Now, Fresh White is the one that's double-sided. So not only do you have that beautiful pearlized sheen on one side, you also have it on the reverse. So for something like this, when we're creating a box, and of course, we're going to be having the box on display, but we're also going to be opening the box and taking the lid off as well. It's lovely to have that pearlized sheen on the inside as well as the outside. 310 GSM with it being Centura Pearl, so you know it's construction weight. It's going to hold those score lines absolutely perfectly, and it's going to be nice and strong and sturdy. And if you're thinking, like I am, that you're going to pack that box full of chocolates, quite full, it's going to be ideal because it'll be nice and sturdy.
Okay.
So this is a cardstock we're going to use to actually create the box and the box lid. This box is actually created in several different pieces. That means that we can actually die cut these pieces through our regular A4 die cutting machines. And you're only needing A4 card for this. We do, there we go again. We do our A3 version of this card, but your A4 is still going to be ideal for this particular box. And what we're going to do, and this is the piece that's going to create our sides, we're going to cut this down to 6 inches square. So using my large guillotine, just look at the lines on the top, finding your 6-inch line, and we're going to cut down. And then we're going to do exactly the same, just turning our cardstock and cut that down to 6 inches. And that's going to give us a piece that's measuring 6 by 6 inches. Don't forget to save these pieces as well that you cut. We will be using those a little bit later on. So that's 6 by 6. Then we're just going to do exactly the same again, cutting another piece down to 6 by 6 inches in size. So once again, finding that 6-inch line at the top of our guillotine, and then just turning our cardstock and cutting that down. So that's going to measure 6 by 6 inch square. And that's giving us 2 pieces there that are measuring 6 inches by 6 inches. Okay, and those are going to be for our box sides. Leave those to one side for just a moment, and don't forget about these 2 pieces that we just saved, those 2 offcuts from our sides. We're going to be using these to create our lid and our base. So for our lid, we need to cut this to 3 7/8 of an inch square. Now, I know sometimes we can get a little bit confused when it comes to our 1/8 of an inch and all the rest of it, but it's really easy to work out when you've got your guillotine. So you can see there you've got 3 and you've got 4. So every sort of square that you've got there is 1/4 of an inch, and all 1/8 of an inch is half of that. So you can see there you want to go between halfway between those squares. So we're going to find 3, we're going to find 4, we're going to find the line under 4, and all we need to do is be halfway between that last line before 4 and the 4-inch line. So literally just find halfway between there, and that's going to give you 3 7/8 of an inch. So just using your actual grid system on your guillotine to guide you. So let's have a little look. So 4-inch line, line below, halfway. Literally as simple as that. How easy is that? You don't need to calculate, you don't need to be good at maths or anything like that. Find the 2 lines and literally halfway between. It could not be easier. So 3 7/8 of an inch square, that is going to be our lid. Leave that to one side, try and keep it separate from your other 2 pieces for your sides, just so you know which is which. Then for our base, super simple, we only need to cut this, no score lines for this one. This is going to be 2 3/4 inch square. So don't forget every line there is 1/4 of an inch, so find 3 and find the 1 line under that, and that's going to give you 2 3/4 inches. So 2 3/4 by 2 3/4, and that's going to be our base. Make sure you don't lose that piece. I know it is quite small, but set it to one side so it's nice and safe, and we'll be coming back to that right at the end of the project. Let's move our guillotine out of the way for now, and this is where we bring in our scoreboard. Now I did put on my list that I use the Scoremaster. When I'm scoring these sizes, these sort of sizes piece of cardstock, this is going to be absolutely ideal for those sort of sizes. But what we're going to do here is score our 6-inch pieces, and also we're going to be scoring our lid. So these 2 pieces create our sides, this piece here creates our lid. So let's leave those scraps to one side. Now you can use larger scoreboards if you've got your big score, that will be perfect as well, but just because we're scoring pieces that are no larger than 6 inches square, we don't need those larger scoreboards. So don't forget we've got 2 pieces that are exactly the same. They were 6 inches square, and these are going to create our sides. So what we're doing to one, we're going to do exactly the same to the other, so it's nice and easy. So first up, and I do always work in inches, I have to say I always work in inches. I don't know about you, Becky, but always work in inches.
I have since I started working here.
Oh,
I always worked
interesting.
in centimetres before, even though I
Oh,
did a sewed. I've had to relearn, because it's just not, you know, as a child, we learn in centimetres at school, but most people that sew in inches. So and now I work in inches.
Yeah.
You've converted me.
Yeah, always inches. And it's really strange because I've been crafting, some of you will know, for many years. So I was crafting, I started die cutting when I was about 12. So when I was at school, I was crafting, and I was crafting in inches at home. But then I'd come to school and they'd be talking about centimetres. And then everyone was like, what's an inch, Lily? What are you on about? And I'm like, it's because of crafting. But yeah, I find it so much easier to craft in inches. So all the measurements for this are going to be inches. So hopefully you're the same as me and Becky and work in inches. So of course it doesn't matter whether we score from the left or the right hand side at this point, because it is a square piece. So literally one side, putting that up against that left hand side there, we're going to score at 1/2 inch. So let's take our scoring tool. This is just the one that comes with the scoreboard. You can use that scoring tool that also comes with the guillotine. That works perfectly as well. But all we're going to do is score at 1/2 inch. And I always say when it comes to your scoring, don't go in like a bull in a china shop. Don't go in really heavy-handed trying to get a sharp score line with just one score over there. Score lightly multiple times over that area and start to build up that score line just like so.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
Because this is double coated both sides,
Yeah.
does that mean you score it slightly differently? Will it?
No, I
exactly
always
the same
score
as before?
exactly the same. Yeah, I always use the same technique, whether it's coated cardstock, whether it's non-coated, whether it's double-sided. I'll always score multiple times over that area. I'll never just go in with one score line because you're more likely to crack or tear your cardstock by doing that.
Right,
And you'll
okay.
find with your Centuria, it actually holds the score lines beautifully. As long as you use that sort of technique, it will hold those score lines absolutely perfectly.
Fab. Thank you.
Not just you guys at home asking questions, Becky, get those questions in as well. So any questions anybody has from any angle, let us know. So there we've got our 1/2 inch score line, and that's actually going to be the base, the bottom of this side section. So what we're going to do is we're going to have that score line now at the bottom. You can just see that there on the camera. And then what we're going to do there is we're going to score at 2 3/4 inches. So find our 2, there's 2 1/2. So just between there will be 2 3/4 inches. And once again, same technique, we're going to find that score line, we're going to get into the groove, and we're going to build up that score line to make sure we're going to have a nice, crisp, even fold. And then what we're going to do is we are going to find our 5 1/2, so 5 1/2 there, and score down. So what we've got is we've got a 1/2 inch section at the bottom and on the right hand side, and then the other 2 large compartments are exactly the same size. And that's what we do to create one, well, I say one side, 2 sides of our box. Exactly the same with our other 6 inch piece. So don't forget, we're going first off with that 1/2 inch score line, building up that score line so it's 1/2 inch, and that's going to be the bottom piece of this part of the box. And then turn it so that is on the bottom there, that score line, and then we're going to score again at 2 3/4. So it's just repeating that same technique, repeating those exact same measurements that we've done on the first piece with the second piece, which is 2 3/4, and then we're going to go in at 5 1/2 there, which gives us that little 1/2 inch tab, which is going to be what we use to actually glue our 2 pieces together. Now, if you had A3 cardstock, what you could be doing is you could be creating this all as one continuous piece if you so choose. But just because we run this through an A4 die cutting machine, and I know not everybody at home actually has some of their A3 cardstock, this is how you can actually create this sort of box using A4 card. It's just having 2 pieces and making sure you've got the tab, not only that's going to join the whole piece together, but actually join the 2 pieces together as well. So we're going to leave that to one side for just a moment. We're going to trim into this in just a minute, but we're going to do our other piece of scoring now. So this section here was our lid, and it's the one that's 3 7/8 of an inch square. And all we're going to do for this one is we're just going to score 1/2 inch on all 4 sides. Really nice and easy to create our box lid. So that's going to give us a square box lid with a depth of 1/2 inch. And because of the way that we've worked this out, because this was a slightly funny measurement with it going into the 1/8 of an inch, reason being is because we need it an 1/8 of an inch larger than our actual box size. But I've built that into the measurements, so you guys at home don't need to worry about working this out. When you follow these measurements, you will get that perfect placement of the lid fitting over the base with no problem whatsoever. So final score line on here at 1/2 inch. So 1/2 inch onto all 4 sides. That's the score lines that we are going to need for our box lid. Don't forget, we also had our little piece that was set to one side for our box base. You can see that fits in the middle perfectly, but no score lines needed for that one. So we're not using that one for any sort of scoring. Now, let's go back to our box lid piece here, and let's do a little bit of reinforcing and trimming into this section. So all we're going to do is just fold along these score lines. Now you can trim into the score lines first and then burnish afterwards, but I find by burnishing these score lines first, it means that you can see where they are a little bit easier, and it makes it that little bit more simple to actually trim into this piece. So you can see we've got 4 score lines on there, and on every corner there's a sort of a junction where they all intersect. Now what we want to do is we want to trim up that score line to where they cross, and then we want to remove a little triangle. Okay. So first off, let's just trim up to where those score lines cross. and then we'll trim out the triangle. Reason why we trim out the triangle, blimey, that's a tongue twister, isn't it? Good grief, trim out the triangle, is if we were to fold our box together like so without trimming out that extra little piece, there's a danger that that bottom section there, where our tab is, could potentially catch on that bottom edge of the box lid. So by actually removing that small triangle, and you can go at a real angle if you want, but here we're just going to remove a tiny little right angled triangle, just like so. It's going to mean that it's going to fold together a little bit more neatly. So when we fold that up, you've got that angle there, so it's not going to catch on the base of our box lid, just like so. It's just those little tips, those little techniques that are going to give us a neater and more professional look and finish to our projects. And it's just a case of doing exactly the same in all 4 corners. So trimming up to where those score lines cross, and then just literally trimming out into a little triangle. So you remove that tiny, you can see it's absolutely tiny little right angled triangle there. Very easy to do that on all 4 sides. And then that's the main construction part of our box lid all done and good to go. Now at this stage, let's bring in a little bit of red liner tape. Let's get the tape onto here ready for when we build the box later. I do always say when it comes to your box making, all the mats and layers I almost always will do when the box is flat, and then the last thing I tend to do with the box is actually build it. Maybe I might add some 3D decoration on after it's built, but anything flat like your mats and layers, I would definitely recommend adding those onto your project while that box is still flat. Just makes it a lot easier to line it up and make sure it's all adhered properly. So red liner tape, here we're using 3mm just because they are quite small tabs that we've got for our box lid. And we're just going to add a piece onto all 4 tabs there, just so that's all done and good to go. That's our box lid ready. Let's bring back in now though our box sides. So a similar sort of technique with this that we've just used for our box lid. So what we're going to do is we're going to reinforce those score lines. You can bring in a tool like a bone folder or a scoring tool to reinforce those if you so choose. But if you've not got one of those at home, as long as you have scored properly and make sure you built up that score line, you should be fine just doing this with your hands. At this stage at least anyway. So let's just bring in those score lines, folding over, burnishing and making sure that's starting to take shape. Now what we're going to do at this point is we're going to again trim into these sections. So where we've got that 1/2 inch tab on that right hand side, we're going to take our scissors and we're going to trim at a diagonal going up to where we meet that score line. So we're just going to trim up to that score line. And that's going to mean when we actually join these pieces together, it's going to be a little bit neater once again. Same sort of idea there with that bottom left hand corner. All we're going to do is going to trim from the bottom up to where we have that score line. And then where we've got that sort of centre score line, all we're going to do is we're going to remove a triangle. So trim up to where those score lines cross, and then do exactly the same on the other side. So you've removed that more like an equilateral triangle, just like so. And then on the other side where we've got this little square in the bottom right hand corner, we're going to trim up again to where those score lines cross. And then on that tab on the right hand side, we're going to do it exactly the same to remove that section there. And that should give you something that looks a little bit like that. So all that is doing is removing some of the bulk so that when we start to build this together and start to fold it and construct it, it's going to fold and sit a little bit nicer. Now I did talk earlier when we were talking about the sides, how what we do to one set, we do to the other. So that trimming that we've just done onto that one here, let's repeat exactly the same onto this piece. So if you did miss that first one, then this is the ideal opportunity to catch up. So on the right hand side, trim up to that score line. Do the same on that bottom left hand corner, trimming up to where we find the score line. Then in this centre section here, we're going to remove a triangle. So cutting up to that junction, and then the same on the right hand side. And then just where we've got that little square or rectangle on that bottom right hand corner, let's just remove that piece entirely and chamfer the 2 edges there, so that when we stick this all together, it's going to sit together a little bit more neatly and a little bit more professionally. And then that gives us our 2 box sides, just like so, nice and easy to do. So at this stage, what we've got is we've got 2 of our box sides, we have got our box lid, and we also have got our box base. So I don't know if we've got any questions or if we want to take a quick break for anybody at home to catch up, but I feel like this would be an ideal opportunity. We've basically got all the construction all cut and scored and ready to go.
Fantastic. Right. Now these are our lace nesting dies that you're seeing here at the moment. We've got a whole selection of different shapes in here. The first one we're showing you are the ornate ovals. And you can see you're getting an awful lot of metal for your money here. Really intricate dies that you're getting in this. This next one is a heart-shaped one. This is your swirling heart frames, which is the one that Lily's going to be using in the demo. This next one is your floral lace frames. I was going ahead of myself and saying the wrong one. But you can see again, you're getting lots here. There's lots of different frames that you can see, and they are absolutely beautiful. As always, there's lots of beautiful, intricate shapes that you're getting out of these. This next one is your antique frames. Again, very, very pretty. This one here is your lace doily frames. And you've got that lovely little star kind of shape inside this one. Very Art Deco kind of design around here. And then finally, this is your delicate doily frames on this one here. More open, this design. £70 or $90. Platinum price is £56 or $72. People were asking what cards, you were asking what cardstock. Rhonda says all-purpose cardstock is excellent for album making. And Phil Watson says it has to be multi-purpose as it's for printer use.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's good that everyone has different types of ones to use. Sandra Dundas says she grew up on inches, and I'm sorry, not sorry, I refuse to change. The row over apples and bananas, I don't care what measure you use, I want 5 apples or 5 bananas or 5 pears. Makes sense, doesn't it? It's what you get used to. Now, I've got some, and I say some, I've got quite a lot of paper pads here. I've got 2 bundles down here. The first one is using, I don't know whether this is the right one. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, but this one. I just needed to read which one it said. So in this bundle here, we've got 4 different paper pads. They're all 12 by 12 paper pads. The first one we've got is Say It With Flowers. Then we have Beautiful, Delightful Daisies, and then the Sunflower. These are just stunning collections of papers in here. As always, we have a more sort of detailed print on one side and a more muted tone on the other. But these were just glorious designs. Well, am I right in saying that these ones are a reprint that we've done on these collections? So if you missed out in the past, or if you bought the Sunflower collection, and obviously they're consumable and you would have used up all of your paper pads, you've got another opportunity to get hold of these here. They are just so very, very pretty. I love the colours on the sunflower. It's a joyful flower, isn't it? So my sister always had sunflowers. It's her favourite flower. Aww. And when my niece got married, she had sunflowers in her bouquet, but only viewing to her. So it was only her that could see them. No one else could see them. And next one we've got is Delightful Daisies. And I really like this one because the rear, or the B-side, you've got that kind of wood grain pattern, which makes them really useful for so many different designs. Here on these blues, these kind of acid yellowy colours. Look at that one, that is so pretty. Moving forward to all those sort of darker colours in here. A lovely collection of papers in here. We're using all of those beautiful daisy images throughout there. These are all 12 by 12 paper pads, all 180 GSM. This is the Beautiful one. I missed out on this, and I can't. I'm going to have to open that one in a minute because it's still stuck together. I have to do that one in just a second. I missed out on that because I don't think I worked here when that one came out. So that one is lovely. And as we said earlier on when we were doing the first show, the darker one up here almost looks like chocolate.
Oh, yeah.
This one is your Say It With Flowers, and these are super joyful colours. Those fuchsias, greens, and those really dark, deep pinks. They are a beautiful collection you've got here. Oh, look at that one. Those pink colours are so, so pretty. Really nice collection there. All of these, you're getting 36 pages in each one. Apart from this one, you're getting 48 in this one. And I can't quite open it up. I can just slightly flick through. I will remove the proper bits of stickiness so you can see exactly what you're going to be getting in there in just a moment. So all 4 of these. That's a great price, isn't it? £55 or $75. The platinum price is £44 or $60, and you're going to get 50 extra bonus points on that. That is a fantastic deal.
Certainly is.
I really like that. That is a good deal. Caroline Crafty Chimp says, good afternoon, crafty, lovely peeps. I'm a bit late to the show as I had a massive tidy up in my craft room. you can lose days in a messy craft room, can't you?
Oh dear, a tidy up in your craft room. Sending my severe condolences out to you. It doesn't sound good to me that. At least it's over now, at least you're joining us. Tidying up's never fun, is it?
Absolutely, absolutely. Should I do the next pads? We do love paper pads. I've got these ones. Makes me happy when I see them here. And I'm like, I've got these at home. We're going to start with a pearl pad first of all. So this one's more card really, isn't it? It's much thicker. This is 250 GSM. Pearlescent, look at the colour in that. Look at that sheen. All these beautiful, very vivid, deep colours. You've got that deep purple moving to the bright blue, a green, a really vibrant yellow, and through to a lovely deep orange, an Aperol Spritz orange, that one I would say is beautiful scarlet colour here as well. So that's your first one. Your next one is this beautiful Botanic Garden pearl paper pad. Oh, it's just so gorgeous. How can you choose which ones you want? I mean, they are just so beautiful. You've got that beautiful pearl sheen. Again, you've got that very vivid pattern at the front. Oh, went straight through those. Look at that bright, bright yellow, almost eye-searingly yellow colours here. Beautiful patterns and more muted tones on the back. And then we have the Ditzy Floral, which works really well. So all of these pads will work together. We've seen this earlier on. I saw a little bit of this, I think. Did we see a little bit of this earlier on? Or
No.
maybe it was yesterday, I think. Or maybe it was the stripy one yesterday I saw. But it was yesterday. The days just roll into one now, don't they? So once again, you've got a very detailed patterned side and you've got a more muted tones. You've got more of less of a ditzy floral pattern on the other side. But all of those colours are going to work really well with those other two pads that I've just shown you here. So they definitely work as a trio here. So you can see if I hold them up, you've got all of those different colours as well as the solid colours which work so well together. £55 or $63. Platinum price is £44 or $50.40 for those. It's good that you don't have to choose. It's good that you can just get the whole lot together because they work so very well. As I said, if you have any questions for Lily today, please do message in. And let us know. If you're brand new to crafting, there may be many questions you need to ask whilst we get along with that craft along. But we're going to give you the opportunity to check out your baskets and we will see you in a couple of moments.
We get to know people from places and walks of life that we wouldn't come across in our everyday life if it wasn't for Crafters TV and doing what we do.
I got so many lovely comments from people when I started doing the presenting, and it was just really such a lovely feeling. And it's nice that people keep messaging in. You know, we see the same people. We know you can build up that kind of relationship with those people. So it's just the fact that people like what we do and they're pleased. And I do love it when people send us photographs of the items that they've made.
We talk about customers, but really they go in as a customer, come out as a friend. The support that I get is amazing. The messages I get are amazing.
Me personally, it is personal interaction. I've never had the best of health. I've always been open about that with our viewers at Crafters TV. So many people are in the same situation as me health-wise. Other people have got a completely different health issues. They understand and they relate to what I'm going through, what others are going through. So whether we interact on a crafting basis or whether we interact on a health basis, a personal basis, we're all there to support one another. It is incredible.
The reaction of viewers when they come to meet us is worth all of the early mornings when we have to get up for our early morning shows.
Some of the customers come on as craft ambassadors and things like that, craft along with us, and being able to actually chat with them on air. I love it. I really love that connection with them.
We've had lots of shows where we've done like craft alongs, especially where we've had viewers craft along with us. We had a particular viewer, Joy, who joined us once before, and she literally made me cry on air, and Joe, because the things she said about us, it really was quite humbling that there are people out there that watch us and invite us into their living rooms and really treat us like family. many of our viewers bring up time and time again, and that's our wax seal gate.
Thinking, Joe, it might not work as well because I've put too much. Oh, I've forgotten to put me thing in place. Because I have a way of words that I think that doesn't engage with that and can come out all wrong. Water.
That wasn't the one you just washed your brush in, was it?
Sorry. Yes, but it doesn't matter.
No, it wasn't, was it? It was. Are you kidding?
I'm going to have to say, it's a slip of the tongue. I'm going to say it's maybe to do with my Scottish accent. I'm maybe going to say it's because of Mr. Ben Mosby. He is, well, yeah, he doesn't help matters.
I've made pots that have exploded when I fired them. I've done zips in inside out. It happens to everybody.
We've all spilt our glitter all over our project or knocked the water over.
You're right.
I've just noticed I've got my dress on inside out.
So I was messing about doing some backgrounds with the sparkling, took the lid off it and managed to catch the pot somehow, and the whole thing came towards me, down my front, across my lap, onto the floor.
I went to reach for the water and, you know, do the tapping with the and so there was less tapping and more sort of a tsunami. I've got some.
Oh, they still make me laugh, even though I've seen them so many times. It does make me laugh. Just goes to show there's always something positive that comes out of something that you may have thought was negative. It's just one of those things. So we are doing a fantastic craft along with Lily today, and we're using the lace nesting dies. Very nice project you're doing, specifically really great for Valentine's Day, and that is coming up very soon, isn't it, Lee? And you're saying that you want yours filled with chocolates, is that right?
Well, here's the thing. I'm making the box. I just need somebody to fill it with chocolates.
You need someone.
I'm halfway there. I'll create the box. Just needs chocolate pudding in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any willing volunteers, let me know. As long
Okay.
as it's vegan chocolate, I'm not fussy.
Okay, well, we'll see what we can do, Lily. We'll see what we can do. And of course, we have a fabulous guest with us for the craft along. Hello, Stephanie. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Oh,
You keeping up with what Lily's doing?
Yes, I'm all set for the next step.
Fantastic. Oh, that's good to know. As always, if you get a little lost, you want us to repeat anything, just put your hand up. We will know to come to you. Brilliant. We'll get started on the next part of the craft along, shall we?
let's do it. And I think it's time we brought in some of those beautiful paper pads we've just been having a little look at. Now we are going to focus on that gorgeous rainbow pearl. I mean, look at that red colour
that's
tone. That
lovely.
is absolutely beautiful. Look at the shimmer and shine on that. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it's also double-sided. So we're going to be bringing that in for some of our matting and layering. And we're also going to use this beautiful design here from the Botanic Garden. Again, you've got that double-sided print, and it's also got that pearlescent sheen. So absolutely gorgeous papers that we're going to use for this project. So what we need to do is we need to create our mats and layers for our lid. And we also need to create mats and layers for only 2 of the box sides. You can see on 2 of the sides we're going to do our die cutting, then onto the other 2, just for a little bit more design, a bit more added interest, we're going to add on our mats and layers. Now, if you remember when we actually scored our box lid, it was ½ an inch from each side. So that means when we add our lid over the top of our box side, it's going to be protruding about ½ an inch. So rather than having our mats and layers go all the way to the top of that box side, what we're going to do is going to come down about ½ an inch. So when we've got our box lid on, it gives it that really nice professional look and feel, where we've got even spacing left and right, but also top and bottom where it meets that lid when that goes over the top. I just think it gives it a really nice finishing touch by working that way. So first up, let's start with our mats and layers for our box size. So we'll start off with our larger mats and layers, which are going to be from our red cardstock. So from our red, we need to cut this down to 4 3/4 inches by 2.5. So first up, let's find 2.5. So 2.5 is going to be around about there. 2.5 by 4 3/4. So there we go, 4 3/4 by 2.5. Then all we're going to do is going to do that twice. So let's get another piece of our red card. So it's going to be measuring 4 3/4 by 2.5. So there's our 2.5 line there. 2.5 by 4 3/4. So finding that line and trimming down. So we've got 2 of those to go onto our 2 corresponding sides. Now I like to work in 1/4 inch increments. So from our pattern paper, what we need to trim this down to is going to be 4.5 by 2 1/4. So let's find 4.5. And it's a lovely pattern paper because it's kind of unidirectional, so you can be having that print on pretty much any way you like. So by chance that is actually already 4.5, so then we're going to just trim down at 2 1/4. So finding our 2-inch line, 1 line up from that is going to give us 2 1/4. And because we've got 2 sides that we're going to be adding our mats and layers onto, let's do exactly the same once more. So you can see we've got our mat and layer in the red, and then we're just going to place our lovely pattern cardstock over the top, and we have got that twice for those 2 box sides, just like that. Now for our lid, what we need to do is a similar sort of idea. So our larger mat and layer, we are going to use our red card. I'm not sure if we've got any scraps that are large enough, because our lid mats, our largest one needs to be 2 5/8 inch. That's slightly too small. We'll save these for die cutting a little bit later on, but we'll bring in a full sheet for this. So we're going to go in and trim this down to 2 5/8 inch. So we're going to find 2.5, we're going to find the next line, and we're going to go halfway between. So 2.5 and half a box, if you like. So do that once and then trim down. Because it's square, we need to do exactly the same onto there, just like so. And that's going to nestle onto the top. If I bring back in my box lid, that will go onto there perfectly. And then we need to cut out its corresponding mat from our pattern cardstock. So again, 1/4 inch smaller. So this time it's going to be 2 3/8 inch. So all we're going to do is we're going to find 2.5, we're going to find the line beneath, and we're just going to go once again halfway between, and that's going to give us that 1/8 inch onto there. So trim down and then do exactly the same on the other side. So we've got a square piece, and then just check that that's fitting nicely onto our mat and layer, and absolutely it is. So we'll leave those to one side for just a moment while we move our guillotine out of the way, because I believe that's all of our cutting and trimming that we need to do. So now let's do a little bit of matting and layering. So as always, I like to work with my all-purpose glue for my mats and layers. Even though this is a coated cardstock, as long as you make sure that you don't get any sort of squidging out the edges, so I do apply that adhesive ever so slightly in from the edge of there rather than right up to the edges, just to make sure you don't get any of that glue squidging out along the sides. Just because it's a coated cardstock, what can happen is it can strip that coating off. So you just want to make sure that you don't get any of that excess glue out the edges. That is really quite skew whip on that right hand side. Lily, what were you thinking that side? Come on now, let's do a
like you, Lily.
scissor hands. I know, it's not good at all. It needs to put my eyes in. Right, let's just trim down there. There we go. Nobody will know. There we
I think
go.
we've got a question from Stephanie.
Oh yeah, let us know.
Hi, how are you doing?
Hi. Can you go back and repeat the sizes on the layering, please?
Absolutely, yeah, of course I can. So we'll start off with our 2 box size. So remember, we need 2 of the same for these. So from your red cardstock, you want to be cutting your red cardstock to 2.5 by 4 3/4. So that is 2.5 by 4 3/4. And don't forget, you're wanting 2 of those. So 2.5 by 4 3/4. And then for your pattern paper, that's going to be 1/4 inch smaller. So that is going to be 2 1/4 by 4 1/2. So 2 1/4 by 4 1/2. And then your red card is 2.5 by 4 3/4. And then for your box lid, this is the one, remember, where we had to work in the 1/8 inch. So for your red cardstock for your lid, it needs to be 2 5/8 inch by 2 5/8 inch. And then for your mat and layer, that smaller one, it's 2 3/8 inch by 2 3/8 inch. Hopefully that answers your question, Stephanie. Any other questions, or if that doesn't quite clear it up, just let us know and we will do our very best to answer those for you. All good. Oh, I've got the thumbs up. Fantastic. Thank you, Stephanie. Just want to point out at this point as well, just while I'm doing this matting and layering, I will post all the measurements on my Facebook and Instagram pages after the show. I say after the show, be by the time I get home tonight, so it'll be a little bit later on when I get home, back in the craft room. I will post all of those measurements. So if you check out my Facebook page, it's Lilly Fletcher Crafter's Companion. Make sure you got the Crafter's Companion bit on the edge, on the end, so it is my page. And it's exactly the same on Instagram. It's at Lilly Fletcher CC, and I will post all of my measurements that I've got very neatly printed out. For once, it's not a scribbled scrap of paper like it usually is, which is progress for me, but all of those measurements for both the construction and all the mats and layers, I will be posting those later tonight. So if you did miss any of those and you want to craft along at a later date, don't worry, I will be sharing all of those with you.
Crafty Angie has asked, when making the lid for the box, should we make it an inch larger than the base?
So what we need to do is we took care of all those measurements at the start.
Right.
So what we've got for our base, don't forget this little square piece is for our base. That's 2 3/4 inches square. So 2 3/4 by 2 3/4, that is our base. When we bring in our sides, we'll see that that fits our sides perfectly when we stick them together. And then for our lid, we need to cut this piece 3 7/8 by 3 7/8. Basically, it's going to be an inch larger anyway because we score at 1/2 inch on all 4 sides, but I've built in that extra 1/8 of an inch onto there so that it's going to mean when it fits over that box lid, if we line them up, you can see into that score line, that section in the middle is ever so slightly larger than your base. Okay. So don't worry about making anything larger or smaller, as long as you follow my measurements and have your base 2 3/4 inch square and your lid 3 7/8 inch square, scoring at 1/2 inch, you should be absolutely fine.
Brilliant.
Hopefully that makes sense. Please let me know if not. So then all we're going to do is our second mat and layer that goes onto our sides of our box. We're layering our pattern paper onto that lovely thin border of red cardstock. I think the colours on this are just absolutely sumptuous, just beautiful colourways, really rich, really decadent. It's going to be ideal for all of those Valentine's Day makes. So there we've got our 3 mats and layers, our 2 for our sides and our 1 for our lid. So let's bring in our lid and we're going to stick our lid mat and layer onto the actual lid piece that we've cut from our Centura pill. So let's take some of our glue, applying this around the edges. Once again, because we are sticking coated cardstocks, I know a lot of the team would recommend to use your tacky glue, and of course, if that's what you prefer to work with, then I absolutely go in with that. But I find as long as you make sure you go slightly in from the edge, so you're not going to have that glue squidging out around the edges, you will be absolutely fine, and it certainly is strong enough to adhere all your coated cardstocks as well. So that's our lid. That just needs to be decorated a little bit later on, so we'll leave that to one side for just a moment. And remember, for our box sides, we had 2 separate pieces. So one piece we're going to do our die cutting on, so let's leave that and make sure that is out of the way. The other piece is the one where we're going to have our mats and layers onto this section. So I'll have one on one half and then one on the other, just like so. So once again, let's bring in some of our all-purpose to adhere these onto our box sides, and then this can just be drying while we're doing all the rest of the decoration, we're doing our die cutting and all those other parts of the box. So lining that up onto that left hand side, just like so, making sure I've got an even spacing on the left side of the cardstock and to the score line on the right, and then an equal border at the bottom. Remember, we want that larger border at the top because that's where the lid is going to sit, and it's going to give us that more professional look and feel to our finished project. Then let's do the same on the piece for the right hand side. That's just going to sit onto there, lining that up with your 3 score lines like so, and that is going to give us our matting and layering onto this piece. Now at this point, let's just bring in some of our red liner tape. So we've just got that taping all done and ready for when we start to construct our box. So what we need to do is we need to add some of our red liner tape or any adhesive of your choice, but do make sure it's a nice strong adhesive. Your tacky glue will work, but you may just have to use something like magnets or your quilting clips just to hold that into position while that glue sets and dries. And then what we're going to need to do as well is we're going to need to have some of our tape on these 2 bottom tabs, because this is what's going to be that joining element to our actual box base. So we need a section of red liner tape onto that one there, and then exactly the same for our other little tab along the base of our box sides like so. And that's that section of the box pretty much all done and good to go. Once we've completed this section, what we'll be doing is we'll be joining the two pieces together, and that will start to build our box just like so. Now at this point, what we're going to do is we are going to start to do a little bit of die cutting. So we're going to start off by die cutting into our box sides. So we're taking this piece of our cardstock that we've scored and cut down already, and we're going to be bringing in some of our gorgeous dies that are part of this collection. We've gone for the swirling heart frames. You could do this concept with any of the dies within the collection. It doesn't just have to be these, but for this particular box, because we wanted to go with that lovey-dovey sort of theme, we're going in with our hearts because they're going to work an absolute treat. And it's also really easy to line this one up because you've got a very obvious centre section onto these dies. Now what we want to do is we want to die cut this mid-size die, because within the set we get 3 different sizes of hearts. We want to die cut the middle one into the actual box itself. Now it's very easy to line it up left and right, like I say, because you've got that obvious centre point within that heart. But how do we know exactly where we want that in the middle? Well, this is where we bring in that larger die. Because we're going to be die cutting one of these separate and sticking it over the top, we're actually going to use this to help us actually line this up. But remember, of course, we did the same with our mats and layers. We don't want those to be exactly central in terms of the top and the bottom, because we want an extra little bit of space at the top where that lid is going to go. So the way I like to do it, the way that I find easiest, is I'll bring in my box lid and I'll just lay that into position, imagining that that is protruding and sitting on top of the box. So that's basically going to be my top marker. Rather than measuring between that top line and that score line at the bottom, we're now measuring between that bottom section of our lid and that bottom score line. And all we're going to do is we're going to take our larger die. We're not going to die cut this into this piece, but we're going to use it as a positioning tool. So I'm making sure that there's even spacing at the top there, up to our box lid that we're just hanging over the top, and to that bottom score line there. And that's going to be the best way to get this perfectly positioned. Once you're happy with that, we can just leave that to one side, making sure you're anchoring this down into position so you know where it is. We're then going to take that inner die, the die that we actually want to cut, into our box sides, and we're going to start to line this up. Now, I would definitely recommend getting your low tack tape ready so you've got it to hand at this point, because once you're happy that you've got an even space in between those two dies, what you're going to do is you're going to take your low tack tape, and that centre section there is going to be cut out, so that's the piece we are actually going to tape onto. I'm always saying try and tape onto your waist if you can, and that part there is going to be your waist, so you're trying to tape onto that centre section and another piece onto there. At this point, what we can do is we can actually remove that outer die. That was only there as a positioning tool. We're not actually cutting that into our box size. What we're going to do is we're going to cut another piece and add it back over the top. Then all we want to do at this point is just run this through our die cutting machine. Now, what we're doing with this is we're actually wanting to cut the aperture, so we're not worrying about the detail. If you've got a slightly older machine that's got dipped pressure in the middle and it doesn't cut your intricate dies in the centre as well, you don't need to worry about that at all, because we're not actually using that intricate die cut. We are using the waste almost, if you like, the negative, so that we're die cutting an aperture into the box size rather than using that almost like a physical die cut, the actual separate piece that cuts out of the die. So let's run that through our Gemini die cutting machine, because obviously we created both of those box side pieces from our A4 cardstock. As long as you've got an A4 Gemini, you'll be good to go with this. You don't actually have to own a Gemini Pro or anything like that, and that's the beauty of doing it in the two separate pieces rather than using your A4 cardstock. Now, of course, it's our Gemini, and even though it was bang in the middle of the plate, going against everything anybody's ever told you about die cutting, don't die cut in the centre of the plate and all the rest of it, of course it's die cut beautifully because it is our Gemini 2. So absolutely what you can be doing with this piece, we're not going to be using it for this specific project, but this extra die cut that we've got here, you can absolutely be saving that and using it for another project. So we're just going to pop that out of our die, and you can see how absolutely perfectly that is die cut. Even though we weren't even bothered about getting all that detail, of course, it's still going to die cut absolutely perfectly. Then let's just take a moment to poke. I've got a really grubby little pokey tool, oh dear. I've got some foam tape on the end of that. That is not good at all. But we're just going to take a few moments to pop the pieces out of our die. It's always really important that before you run that die through the die cutting machine again, you get all of those waste pieces out. Reason being is if you've got those left in the die, when you pass some more cardstock through that die cutting machine, that cardstock that you're trying to cut, it's got nowhere to go. It's almost like it can't be die cut because we've already got a piece built into that section there. So it's really important that you do remove all these pieces. If you prefer to use your die brush tools, absolutely go ahead and use that, but I favour using a pokey tool. I just find it easiest. But of course, as always, it is personal preference, especially when it comes to your tools. So then we can just, you could be using that as confetti if you like, maybe if you're decorating for a wedding, but we're just going to pop that, make sure all of our little die cut pieces are off your plate. And that's something else you want to watch out for when you are die cutting. If you've got extra little stray pieces, extra little stragglers of the die cut pieces on there, you do want to make sure that you remove all of those, because reason being, if you then pass some cardstock back through that die cutting machine and you've got a rogue little die cut waste piece on there, what it'll do, because of the pressure of the Gemini, it will actually imprint into that cardstock and will give you almost like a little bit of an embossed piece onto there, which is not what you want. So that is why you need to make sure you've cleaned your die and you've cleaned your plate. Blimey, that feels like I was having a little bit of, get off my soapbox now. You need to do this, you need to do that. We start wagging your finger in a minute if I'm not careful.
Well, it's good, you know, that's what we, you know, you're a craft expert for, isn't it?
Well, I'm not quite sure I'm a craft expert, but I do like my crafting, that is for certain.
Sorry, you don't think you're a craft expert?
No, it's not my job title. I'm just very, very lucky and very blessed that I can come and do this when it's not really my job.
You are an expert, you know that.
Oh. Well, I love crafting, that is for sure. I'm certainly an enthusiastic amateur, if nothing else.
If somebody was in Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and had a crafting question, it was phone a friend, it'd be you.
See, you're talking my language now. You're talking craft and quiz shows. I love a quiz show.
Do you?
Yeah, absolutely love Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. It gives me chills. It makes me really nervous. You know, I'm so competitive. I'm watching and the spooky music's going. I get quite nervous, but I do love it.
Have you heard that Debbie has been on every game show? Debbie
What?
Fisher?
Really?
We watched a game show she was on called Babushka. We'll watch it in the break.
Wow.
I'm not going to tell you what happened. Nicola and I knew what happened, but we're still there on tenterhooks.
Oh my
but
gosh.
She's been on. She's been in the audience. I mean, you just mentioned a game show. She's like, I've been on that one.
Wow.
I met him. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, I say I love quiz shows. I'm not very good. The only one that I think I would have a chance at is catchphrase.
Yeah, I think so. Especially celebrity catchphrase.
Oh gosh, yeah, I could do that
That's always
easy.
quite easy, isn't it?
Absolutely. I loved catchphrase so much. When I was about 16, I was absolutely obsessed with catchphrase. Used to watch it all the time. My mum always used to do us handmade birthday cakes, right?
Yeah.
Decorating in a certain theme. So it could be like a crafting theme one year. It might be a running theme next year. One year I had a catchphrase themed cake.
So did you have like Mr. Chips?
Mr. Chips, because it was Sweet 16. So it was like 16 sweets and then Mr. Chips on the side.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that
There you
idea.
go. Fun fact.
Yeah. Oh, well, I definitely think you're a craft expert, Lily.
Oh, thank you. Do my best.
I've been making a little bit of mess over here, and I'm just going to explain why. There was a question from Sandra Dundas who said, a quick thought flashed through my head. Are the heart lace dies suitable size for the heart card in the red template library? No. They're slightly, so the smallest heart will work, but the bigger ones, they're slightly different shape. So I've just been checking for you. They don't quite match up, is all I'm going to say. But they're nearly there. So that's why I've been making this. That's why I've been making a mess over here with the template library. Well, we're going to go through the template library, are we? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Kendall asks, do Crafters Companions sell vellum with no print on it, just completely plain vellum? Do we have that?
We don't know. We used to. We don't at the moment. But do you know what you could use? Tracing paper.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Would
I've
that
got
work?
vellum. Yeah, you could go for tracing paper. But yeah, have a little look in your crafty stash. I know some of our collections have got very muted vellums. I know like Dancing Dragonfly had coloured vellum in there as well. So just have a little look. See if you can use some of your printed vellums and just use the more subtle section of the design. Because we've only got a tiny little bit showing, then it shouldn't matter if you've got a little bit of print on there. Just a different look and feel. But
yeah.
Lots of different vellums on the website, including the Floral Elegance foiled as well.
Oh, that's really nice, isn't it? Yeah. Could you use acetate?
Yeah, absolutely. The only reason I used vellum is because my idea was that you could pop a tea light inside and then it would give you that lovely soft glow. But if you want to be able to see exactly what's in the centre, maybe you're going to line it with some lovely tissue paper, then yeah, absolutely vellum will work a treat as well, and you'll find that over on the website.
Fantastic, that's good to know. So if you do have any other questions, do pass those through. There are no silly questions, and you know, and if we're able to sort of check things out like we just did with the template library, then that is something that we will absolutely do. Loads of people loving what you're doing so far. I think it's looking really beautiful. Looking forward to myself receiving this on Valentine's Day. Perhaps you're going to give it to me, Lily, filled with chocolates. Who knows? Or sweets. If you're just joining us, we are in the middle of a craft along, and it is a beautiful craft along. It is a fabulous little box using some of these lace nesting dies that we've got here. Using this one in particular, this is the heart-shaped one, but we have a whole host of different nesting dies in this collection. We have got a guest who is crafting along, and I think still keeping up. We've been watching out in case you put your hand up, and I don't think you have yet said that you got lost in the crafting along. Are we able to go to Stephanie and say a quick hello? Hello, Stephanie. Are you keeping up still?
I'm keeping up so far, I think.
Fantastic. Oh, that's good to know. As always, if you get lost or you just need us to repeat anything, pop your hand up and we will come to you. And equally,
So as long as we're talking, I do have a question for Lily.
Of course.
Back to the vellum.
Yep.
Did we put that on already? Because I might have missed that work on
No,
somebody.
don't worry. That is the next stage, Stephanie. Don't you worry. We're going to trim it down and put it down on next. So don't worry. You're all perfectly up to date.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Phew.
Brilliant. And if any of you are crafting along at home and you need us to recap on anything, do pop a message in the chat and we will be able to let you know. We're going to talk about the template library because this is what everyone was waiting for. This is the last instalment of the template library. This is the red template library. But as Lily has said, it doesn't matter if you haven't managed to get your hands on all of the others. They will work on their own. Oh, I've got an overhead over here.
Oh my
that's
goodness me.
unusual.
What have you done to deserve that? Good grief. Wow.
Did I ignore you earlier? I'm so sorry. Do you know what? I'm obviously just chewing him out in my head. We don't often have an overhead on this side of the studio, so very exciting. So in the template library, you have your list of all of the different projects that you've got in here. But as I flick through, you will see you get these templates. Now the templates come out very easily. You just need to pop them out like this. And if you heard noise earlier, that was me taking them out just to see if they worked with the heart nesting dies. And you have these shapes under here, which you just need to sort of trace through. You can use a pencil. I like to use a heat erasable pen. And you'll be able to make some absolutely incredible designs. Now, each one of these is nice and simple to use. Oh, Lily, you're a star. Thanks. So if I just pop that underneath, you can see properly now. Now at the top, it shows you how big your finished card is going to be, and also how big a piece of card you need to use in order to cut out your shapes. You also have all the details of the mats and layers in here, making it really, really easy. Now we saw lots of demos yesterday. We're going to be seeing some more today, I'm sure, but there will be videos available if you just use the QR code, and you'll be able to see all of Craig's videos. So that is one part of the template library, but in order to use that, you need to have a look at the little recipe cards that we have in here. So the recipe cards show the individual projects, how they're made on the back. And again, you can take them out of the folder, but it's a little bit more tricky to do. But you can see these step by step. It's gone.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no, I didn't get one from my mum. Oh dear. Wow, sorry about that. It's gone. Sorry, Mum. Didn't get you one.
I can't believe, because I know exactly how many of those we had in stock yesterday morning, and I literally cannot believe.
That is incredible.
That's the highest stock we have ever had of a template library. I can't believe that's gone.
Yeah.
Because I'm on Monday night, I thought I'll plan some demos including that. I won't be doing those demos tomorrow. I'll be planning something else.
No. No.
I can't believe that.
Well done to all of you that did manage to get hold of those. Sorry, Mum, you've not got one. I wasn't quick enough to order it. I should have ordered it yesterday, but I left it too late, and then everyone had gone home, and it didn't work. But well done to everybody. I don't know. We've done all of them now. There was talk about going back and reissuing them. I don't know for sure. But I'm sure if enough of you want this, it's going to come back at some point. We've got, if you have got any of the other ones, they all work in exactly the same way. And I know many of you ordered it yesterday and you're probably getting it delivered later on today. But well done to all of you that got that. Sorry, Mum. I'm going to be in so much trouble. I'm supposed to be going, well, when I get grounded.
She'll take away your pocket money if you're not careful.
She might do.
Serious.
She might make me a cup of coffee and a lamb sandwich or something like that, two things I don't like.
Oh dear, that sounds absolutely revolting.
Yeah. Well, I went over for a Sunday roast and she did roast lamb and I was like, Mum, I don't eat lamb. She goes, yes, you do. You just don't like lamb chops. I was like, I haven't eaten lamb since I was 9.
Oh dear.
Thanks. Don't make me lamb, Mum. I don't like it. Or coffee. Right. She doesn't like the fact that I didn't get her template library. I'm really sorry about that. I will see if I can manage to, no.
You're not having mine, is all I'm saying. It's safely back home, that.
Well, no one's going to use this one now, are they? I'll have that one. I'm not going to have that.
Search her on the way out, please, somebody. She's now had 2 paper pads, I think it was, now template library. What next? I don't know.
I mean, basically all the stuff that we had on the show today is supposed to go back under here for me to use later on. It hasn't. It's gone in a big bag over there.
Yep, a big swag bag.
That big bag's my bag, yeah. That big bin bag that looks like rubbish is just going to be coming in my head. It's not really.
Then you can just leave, say, I'm just taking the bins out. That's why I've got a bin bag taking the bins out.
And then running down the street.
Yeah.
Like
Like, why are you taking the bin in your car? Like, just because I am. I'm taking it to recycling.
You're all right this week. I haven't got the car.
Oh.
And there's only so many paper pads I can fit in my little tiny suitcase.
Mind you, I walk here and back and I can fit quite a few paper pads in my bag.
I don't know how you can do that, Lily. How you could be exhausted. You must be exhausted walking. It's a long way and you've got to have those paper pads. It's just
I have to. It's a must. Anything for me paper pads. And the thing is, on the way back, it's uphill as well, so I'm there lugging all these paper pads. Oh dear, anything for the paper pads.
It's like weight training.
It is. Get me on World's Strongest Man, eh? Maybe, not quite. Close enough.
Right, so we're going to go
back to the dies.
Back to the dies, back to the craft along. So we are using the lace nesting dies here. This is the heart-shaped one, which isn't exactly the same size as the hearts in the template library, but you can absolutely use them for so many different things, as we're seeing in the craft along today. And so this is your swirling hearts. The next one is your ornate ovals. This one here is your floral lace frames. This is your antique frames. This one is your lace doily frames. And then finally we have your delicate doily frames. £70 or $90. Platinum price is £56 or $72. You're getting 18 dies in total. Right, should we go back to the craft along?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's bring in our vellum at this point. And like we were saying earlier, of course, I'm using plain vellum. You could be using printed vellum, or for a different effect, you could be using your acetate as well. So that choice is entirely yours. Of course, True Lily style, I will be using a scrap. We know what it's like. But we just need to make sure it is larger than that heart itself. So we've got enough space around the edges to actually stick that down. So what we're going to cut ours down to is going to cut it down to about 4 inches by 4 inches. So 4-inch square piece of vellum, line that up at 4 inches, and then let's do exactly the same on the other side. So we've got that square piece of our vellum, just like so. So then let's just move that out the way. And then we're going to bring back in our scoreboard, because we need to score this exactly down the centre. So with it being 4-inch square, that means that our centre point is, of course, going to be 2 inches. So let's find 2 inches. And with it being vellum as well, make sure you score really nice and gently and start to build up that score line. With it being a lot more delicate, you do run the risk of tearing it if you go in really quite heavy-handed. So that's our score line onto the centre of there, just like so. And then all we need to do is just bend along that score line to fold this in half. And this is going to be the piece that goes behind that die cut detail that we can add our other layers onto to give us that lovely, almost like floating effect in the centre of our box. So there we go, we have got our piece of vellum with our score line down the middle. Then let's bring back in our box sides, this time working on the reverse. We're literally just going to stick our piece of vellum onto the middle like so. And with it being vellum, I always find it's best to use a tape rather than a glue, just because it is, with it being a little bit more delicate, if you use a glue, you run the risk of it warping and sort of buckling under that moisture. You want something that's not really wet. So a wet glue is never usually the best one to go for with your vellum. I find your red liner tape is going to be your best bet. So taking our nice thin little 3mm red liner tape, we're just going to pop this around the edges of our aperture that we've got onto our box sides, and we're going to start to build this together. So a couple of little pieces onto the centre section there, one there and one there, and then we can play the fun game of peeling the backs off red liner tape, which we all love. I find for me the best way to do it is to get my pokey tool under there. Some people find it easier with tweezers, but the key thing you want to remember with your red liner tape is to make sure it's burnished down first. Otherwise what you're going to do is you're going to try and peel off that backing, and you're going to end up peeling the tape back as well. With it being so tacky and strong, not only does it want to stick your projects together, it does like to stick to the backing, that carrier sheet as well. So do make sure it's burnished down, which you can just do with your nail, or you can do with the back of your pokey tool, just like that, to make sure that you've burnished that down, and then you're able to peel that backing off a little bit more easily. Now, easiest way to do this for me is to line one side up, and then we're going to sort of close our box to actually seal that. So let's line it up down the centre where we've got that score line, making sure that's in position, and then let's stick that right hand side just like so. And then in order to stick that other side, all we're going to do is we're just going to close our box, and then you can see you have got that stuck together like so. Now you'll see it doesn't open out perfectly. Reason being is we want it to be folded at that right angle. So when it's folded, it is perfect with no kinks or creases in there. But if you do try and open it out, it's not going to sit quite right, because that's not how we want it to be. Different to if we were creating a card, we'd want that to sit perfectly flat. Because we want that to be at an angle, that is the right sort of way that we want to do it, by closing your box to actually seal that vellum in. Nice and easy to do that though, just like so. While I'm remembering, I'm going to pop some of my red liner tape onto here, onto the tabs, just so that we've got that all in position ready for when we start to actually build our box. It is starting to take shape a little bit, with it being a little bit 3D, just because of the way we stuck our vellum in, but you'll still be fine to add your layers and all your mats onto this piece. Let's just turn that so we've got that the other way around. I'd recommend either your 12mm or your 6mm red liner tape widths for these particular tabs here. You'll find those sort of the best size-wise for these particular size of tabs, with them being ½ an inch in width.
I suppose they all have their place, don't they? All the different sizes.
It's really funny because it's quite rare to actually get your 12mm red liner tape. Your 3mm and your 6mm, a lot of companies do them. I'm not going to make any bones about it. Easy to find those on the market, but this one is a little bit more rare. And when I actually first started stocking up on my red liner tape, I thought, you know, I'm sure it'll have its uses, but I'll order more of the 3mm, I'll order more of the 6mm, I'll get maybe 1 or 2 of these. I have to say this is one I actually use the most often.
Really?
Because it's one I tend to use for my box tabs.
Yep.
So when I'm creating my boxes and I want that wider width of red liner tape, rather than having to put 2 pieces of your thin little 3mm, which quite often we'd have to do in the past, and with other brands, you've got that larger, that wider 12mm there that's ideal for those larger tabs in your box making. So I have to say, apologies 12mm red liner tape, you are just as useful, if not more so, than the others. But let's leave that piece to one side for a moment, because this is where we're going to bring in these fabulous dies. We're going to do a little bit of die cutting. So for this, we're going to take some of that gorgeous red cardstock from our ultimate paper pads, this one being the Rainbow Pearl. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off first off with this gorgeous large die. And all we're going to do is we're going to die cut one of these from our cardstock. So take our cardstock and cut it down to size. It's always a good idea, rather than running a full piece of cardstock, A4 cardstock through that die cutting machine, cut your cardstock down to the size that you want it to be. Then it means that you're not running through more cardstock through the machine than you need to, because potentially with wear and tear on your plates, you can mark that excess cardstock, which is not what you want. So just run through this piece, cut to the size that you actually need for that particular die. You know, I'm like that, I'm very frugal. We'll say frugal rather than cheap. And I sometimes cut the cardstock a little bit too close, because I like to save the cardstock. Well, make sure it is big enough, because believe you me, I've been there, done that far too many times, and I've cut the cardstock not to large enough. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we save that centerpiece for our next die cut. I mean, you could be using that on its own. It is a lovely heart shape, but it's what we're going to be using to actually do our next die cut. So here we need to just gently ease back our die cut from the die. Look at the detail in that. 250 GSM double-sided pearl. Wow,
That's
incredible.
Beautiful. Yep, gorgeous.
Absolutely love that. And then we're just going to lovingly tap our die to actually remove the pieces. So stand by, everybody. Just to make sure everybody at home was still awake. There we go. If you weren't, you are now. And then we're going to bring in some more of our smaller dies. So I love the fact that because these are nesting dies, it allows you to get more from your cardstock. I'm not going to say that, come on Lily, that's silly. That's bad even for me. It means that you can get more from your cardstock because we're actually using those inner pieces for our die cutting as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to die cut this from that centre section, and do definitely tape it into position just so it doesn't move. We only have a thin border around the edge. I'm actually going to die cut the inner one as well, risk it for a biscuit, making sure we've taped those down really well so that they're not going to cross as they go through that die cutting machine. Then we're just going to run that through. Of course, these smaller dies are going to be perfect for going through your smaller size machine. So maybe you're going to do the construction during the day in your craft room, and maybe then you're going to do the die cutting on an evening on a lap tray in front of the telly with the rest of the family. You can, of course, be doing that with these smaller dies, being able to fit through those Gemini midis, your minis, those smaller format machines. So here we have got, I mean, you could be using that. Ooh,
That's nice.
That's pretty, isn't it? Look at
Yeah.
that. Yeah, we like that a lot, don't we? So you can be using that, could even be using that. Lots of options with these dies, even from the waste. So like I always say, don't always think of it as waste. Think of different ways you can use all those dropout pieces, all those extra bits that you get when you die cut these beautiful designs. And then what we need to do is we just need to take our little poker tool and poke out the pieces. Look at that gorgeous, dainty little heart.
Really pretty.
Gorgeous, isn't it? That is the smallest one as part of this set of 3 different sizes. And I love the fact that they've all got different edges to them. So this middle one's got the detail like on the inside. Same with the smallest one's got the detail on the inside. But then that larger one's got the detail sort of around the edge, which I think is nice to have that point of difference between the all 3 of the dies within the collection. Just adds that extra little bit of interest when you start to layer and nest these together onto your projects. So at this point we've got one of the largest die cut in our red, we've got one in the medium, and we've also got one in the small. But all we need to do is die cut one more of the medium because we need 2 of that particular size for this project. So we're just going to make sure we've poked out our pieces as per my little lecture earlier about poking our pieces out of our die cuts before we run it back through the machine, just to make sure that we've got that clean, crisp cut when we run this back through, so there's no little stragglers still hanging around in that die. So just take the last few pieces out of there, and then like I was saying again earlier, making sure that we've cleaned our die cut plate so we've not got any of those little waste pieces hanging about on there that could potentially imprint onto our cardstock. And then we should be able to hopefully use one of these little scrap pieces. They might be a little bit small, let's have a look. Or slightly too small, we'll have to cut into our larger piece, which always hurts me inside a little bit, you know. You know what I'm like.
I know what you mean, because it's nice to be able to use up all those little pieces and not feel, you know, they sort of hang around for a long time, don't they? You never quite have a piece big enough.
Absolutely. I mean, I will be taking those home and popping them back in my paper pad and hopefully using them at a later date. They are certainly not going in the bin. But then just one final die cut here. So let's run that through the die cutting machine, and then that's going to give us 2 of the medium size, 1 of the large, and then 1 of the small as well. So back through the die cutting machine one final time, using that lovely Rainbow Pearl 12 by 12 inch cardstock to give us that gorgeous red colour that's going to be ideal for your Valentine's Day makes. Once again, die cut absolutely perfectly with the first pass. Even though these are really decorative, lacy nesting dies, they work absolutely perfect. So there we go, we've got that extra piece there, which is giving us 2 of the medium size. Love that. So then what we're going to do is just move that out of the way like so, and then we're going to start to build this together. So let's bring back our box, and what we need is we need to add 1 of these around the edge. So I'm just going to score this because of course we need that score line down the centre section. So bring back in our scoreboard, and this is why we always recommend to pop a black marker line down the middle of your scoreboard so you know exactly where that centre point is. We're just going to score that one, and then on 1 of our medium sized hearts, not on the other, just on this one, we're going to do exactly the same and just pop a score line down the middle, which is going to make it a little bit easier when we start to stick this together. Move that out of the way for just a second, and then let's just reinforce our score lines onto there. So folding this in half, so it's going to be equal on both sides, just like so. And then let's do exactly the same on the other one that we have just scored. Burnish and reinforce that score line just like that. Now we need to start to stick these into position. So let's start off with our smaller one, and that's just going to nest in the middle there, just like so. Fits nicely onto the middle. So let's get a piece of scrap cardstock and bring in our dotty tape pen. I have to say at home I did use my tacky glue. You'll have seen that on the list of materials, but just for speed, because when you do this technique with your tacky glue, you do need to take just a few moments to actually hold that into position till it grabs. And just for speed, we're going to go in with our dotty tape pen. It will work just as well, it'll still work perfectly, but it'll just give us that instant grab rather than having to wait. Now remember we did that technique when we folded it together, where we didn't have it flat because this is going to be a 3D box and we need that right angle. We're going to do exactly the same with this. So let's start off by lining up one half. Don't try and stick the whole thing all in one go, just line up one half first. Once you're happy that you've got that in position, so I'm just taking a moment to sort of pivot that around until I'm happy. Then once I'm happy, just burnish that from the reverse to get that glue sort of really set onto our vellum. Taking a second. You can use a tool if you prefer to use like your scoring tool, you can use that if you so choose. But once that's in position, let's fold our box into a right angle, and then all we're going to do is just going to fold that second section, that right hand side of our heart down. Same technique there, just to make sure we've got all of that tape to catch onto the vellum. We're just going to go and give that a little bit of a burnish, and that's going to make sure that is nice and secure. And although if we try to flatten that out, it would be a little bit kinky in the centre, because we actually want this to be folded together in that box, that 3D box sort of shape. That's exactly how we want it to sit, just like so. Same technique with this outer section, that's just going to go around the edge there. We're going to apply some more of our dotty tape pen. Of course, like I say, it can be that tacky glue in your fine tip glue applicator. That's going to give you a little bit of wiggle room as well if you are slightly nervous or unsure about positioning this perfectly central first time. That is going to be a little bit of a saviour when it comes to that positioning. So let's just make sure we've got plenty of our tape onto there. Of course, it could be your refillable tape pens if you prefer to use those, or your regular ones will still do the job. Well, I've got one little straggler piece there. Let's get rid of that. There we go. And then let's apply the same technique. So we're going to line up one side up to the fold, and then we're going to line up the other. So let's go ahead, making sure we've got that even border all around the inside, just like so. And once I'm happy that that looks about right, we're just going to turn it over. Burnish from the reverse once again to make sure that's in position, and then we're just going to making sure our box is at a right angle, just fold that through, fold it in half to make sure that's going to sit nicely when it's all constructed. And then once again, let's just burnish our die cut on the reverse to get that real good adhesion onto there. And that gives us our box side just like so. Next stage will be to start to actually stick our box together, so we'll be joining those two pieces together, but going to give you guys at home a chance to maybe catch up if you are crafting along, or if you're looking at these dies thinking, do you know what, I really want to recreate this particular project but I've not got these dies yet. We're going to give you that opportunity to check out those baskets.
Fantastic. Lots of people loving this. Crafty Angie says, Lily makes me want to play with my stash. And she says those hearts are gorgeous. They really are a beautiful pattern that you've got there. Lynn Blacklish says, I love your Valentine's themed top. Yeah, I had forgotten it's got hearts on it. Green hearts. And Christine Mahoney says about your lugging your paper pads home. She'd do anything for her paper pads.
Absolutely,
as well.
Christine. We have to, needs must. If I have to lug them home, I have an aching arm and an aching back and neck when I get home, I'll do it. As long as I have my paper pads to craft with when I get home. Honestly, the things we do for a paper pad, Christine,
Yeah, what happens if you get a paper pad injury that stops you from crafting? Oh.
Don't jinx me.
No.
No. That's why we have to carry a few at a time to make sure there's no injuries. Just a few. There's a few more coming home tonight.
Have you noticed on a Saturday they've started doing Gladiator again?
Yes.
And maybe they'll do a Gladiators and it's with paper pads. You're there at the Gladiators rather than those big things with the big. They look like cotton buds, don't they? They've got paper pads on either side.
Well, if they do, I'll be waiting for the call. I'm all yours. I used to love Gladiators back in the day. So yeah, if you need anybody to be the paper pad Gladiator, I'm here. I'm ready. Give me a ring.
We'll suggest it. We'll see what we can do. As Lily said, we're going to go for a quick break to give you the opportunity to check out your baskets, and we'll see you in a couple of moments.
Welcome to Club Inspire, the crafters' companion community where you can feed your crafty obsession. Join our fantastic loyalty club today and receive 20% off your first order. We'll also give you 250 points to help get you started. Other benefits of joining Club Inspire include exclusive special offers and discounts for Club Inspire members only, exclusive sneak peek previews of brand new product launches. You'll receive 1 point for every pound, dollar or euro you spend, and the more points you receive, the more benefits you'll unlock. So what are you waiting for? Sign up, join the club and start rewarding yourself today.
Welcome to Crafters TV. With more than 35 hours of live shows each week, it's your home for all things craft. We shine the spotlight on new and innovative crafting products with live tutorials and demonstrations. Join our family of craft experts where fun happens every day.
Are we in trouble or are we all right?
Yeah.
Should be coming in. Should be coming.
What did she do?
Exactly
What
how
did she do?
he looks.
This is awesome. This is awesome.
Get creative and craft along. With our amazing deals, your next craft project is just a click away. Tune in live 7 days a week, or you can watch us on Catch Up at crafterscompanion.com, Facebook, or our YouTube channels. You can chat to us, craft along, and meet new friends by joining our online crafting community.
And I watch you every day, and it's just what really gets you through when you're really at rock bottom.
There's a show for every type of crafter, from first-time dabblers to full-time makers. Crafters TV, create every day.
What makes Crafters TV so special is you guys.
It's really special because the experts are really experts. They're really skilled at what they do, and they want to make sure that the audience also improves on their skills.
Crafters TV is so special because you've got together a really sort of key group of people and people that are very passionate about the product.
Crafters TV is so special because it's a unique community that we have with each other, where we can learn and grow and communicate with each other.
Community, the family spirit, the education, everything to do with craft. We are all like-minded people who share a passion.
I love all the inspiration the demonstrators bring and all the knowledge for us out here.
What makes Crafters TV so special? 100% it's the interaction. No other crafting TV channel or show has the same interaction.
I love the community, I love chatting live, I think that's the best part, and it's gone beyond crafting because we've become friends.
It feels to me to be a really, really close relationship with our customers and viewers.
You guys make us feel like we're part of your family. I've never been on the show before, but one of my friends who I did meet from CCTV encouraged me, and I was on the craft along.
Massive team of people, and I think they've all got their role to play, and it just brings everything together. It allows us to do our job and just love it.
The people, obviously. The people not just here at Crafters Companion, but the viewers that watch us. I mean, everybody. We have this real magical essence about it.
Bye for now. Bye.
Hello everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to a fabulous craft along. We're using the lace nesting dies and it is absolutely beautiful, the item that Lily is making. Christy Mahoney says, oh please Becky, I would risk my back for paper pads. Yeah. And Alison says, Becky, that injury is called a worker's compensation. You're carrying too many paper pads home. We are going to check in with our lovely guest, Stephanie, just to see how you're doing. Stephanie, are you keeping up? You enjoying it so far?
I'm getting a little behind now, but it's okay. I'm used to that.
Oh.
Usually I watch the craft alongs.
Yeah.
And catch up later. Get to complete one, I think.
Yeah.
While being involved, but it's a lot of fun. So
it's difficult to watch
actually, I don't
do at the same
recall.
time. Sorry, it was difficult to watch and do at the same time.
Yes, because you're trying to listen to what sizes and stuff you need, plus get it done, and then we're moving on. But it's fun with Lily and you today, so I'm not complaining. I'm just trying to keep up.
Can I just say as well,
And hope
Stephanie,
it all works out. I'm sure it will.
you will. Can I just say as well, Stephanie, you've done the sort of the most important part, I suppose, because you've got all the construction, you've got all those measurements now. Now we're just really decorating it. So if you do fall a little bit behind now, it doesn't matter as much. You can put your own spin on it, I'm sure you will. Make it your own, but as long as you've got those measurements, which I think you have, you should be absolutely fine.
Great. Thank you. You've been a great teacher today.
Oh, thank you. It's so lovely to have you on the craft along. I've seen your name on the comments for a long, long time. To have you crafting along with me is absolutely fabulous. And I can't wait to see what you create, whether you finish it in the show or not. If you have to finish it after the show, please do make sure you send in a picture though, because I would love to see your finished project.
I absolutely will. Thank you.
Oh, fabulous. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. Excellent. Now we will keep checking in with Stephanie as we go along, and if you're crafting along and you want us to recap anything, please do message in, and you can ask Lily your questions. Christy Mahoney asks, who was the first person that talked on the VT? I think that was Jenny. Am I right? And that the VT that we just ran was the first person that spoke. Was that Jenny?
I don't know.
It was.
Which one?
I don't know. I think.
Does she mean somebody that we actually saw on the VT, or
no? I think first
the voiceover.
Or the one that you're in. Oh, we don't know. Not sure. No. I think it's Jenny that's doing that first little bit, isn't it? The voiceover.
I'm not sure, yeah.
Yeah, Jenny, who's our boss. I think that might be that. If it's not, let me know in the comments if I've got that wrong, what you were checking up about. Now we're using the lace nesting dies in the craft along. I will flick through these very briefly because we want to carry on and make sure we get this finished before the end. But this first one here is the hearts. This is swirling hearts. This is the one that Lily's using. We then have the ornate ovals. This next one is your floral lace frames. This one is your antique frames. This next one is your lace doily frames. And then finally, this is the delicate doily frames. Platinum price for these, all of them, is £56 or $72. Right, Lily, we should carry on and see if we can get this finished by the end of the show.
Absolutely. What we're going to do now is we're actually going to build the box. So we're going to stick everything together. Now, I know I always say I like to do my mats and layers when it's flat. But if we've got 3D decorations, I'm happy to add those on afterwards when we've built the box. So as long as we've got those mats and layers stuck down while it's still flat, it's absolutely fine to be adding that decoupage afterwards when it is actually going to be built. So what we're going to do now is we're going to stick the two pieces together. So first up, of course, we've got our two separate pieces. So the first job is going to be to actually just stick those two together to create one continuous piece for our box sides. And once again, this is where we actually start to fight with our red liner tape backing as always, but peel the back off there, line it up so those edges on the top there are flush, and then just manoeuvre that into position. As always, if you are struggling to get that lined up perfectly first time, just go in once you've removed that backing, go in with some of your tacky glue, add that onto that exposed red liner tape, and it gives you that little bit of wiggle room, that little bit of time to manoeuvre. Peeling off that other side there, and this is going to be what creates the full box into that almost like cylindrical shape. So joining those two sides together, lining up the top, and then just working our way down so that bottom edge is lined up perfectly as well, just like so. So that gives us our 3D box element just like that. But of course we need to seal the base, and this is where this smaller piece of cardstock comes in. Don't forget this was cut to 2 3/4 inches square, and that's going to form our base. Now if you are thinking of adding really quite heavy items into your box and you want it to be really nice and strong and reinforced, what we're going to do with this piece is we're going to stick it to the outside, but what you can also be doing is cutting another piece, so another piece cut to 2 3/4 inches square, and you can actually be also adding that onto the inside as well. And that's going to give you a really strong box base, so you can add slightly heavier items into the centre of your box. So taking our red liner tape, once again making sure that it's burnished nicely into position, so that then it should, in theory, make it a little bit easier to actually peel that backing off. This piece is not wanted to peel off.
You're regretting those nails now, aren't you, Lily?
I know, yeah. Mind you, even with short nails, it's never easy.
It can be quite a challenge, can't it?
Absolutely. Red liner tape can be a little bit of a nightmare, but I think There we go. That one, it's just as soon as you've caught that end and you've got that bit peeling back, it's nice and easy, but it's just that first, sort of like the initial inertia, if you like, of getting that first little bit peeled back. So we're going to peel back all 4 sections at a time, just to make it nice and easy to actually pop our box base onto there. So we've got our 4 tabs there. I like to fold 2 opposite ones in first and then fold the other 2 in. At this point you can of course be adding some tacky glue over the top, but let's just go for it. I'm aware we've got just under half an hour left on this craft along, so we're just going to go for it and stick that onto position like so. We've committed to the stick. Yes, Jamie, in my ear. There we go. And then what I like to do to make sure it's nicely burnished, take a long tool that's not quite long enough. Let's take our scissors and just pop that into the inside of your box, just to make sure you have caught the adhesive on all 4 of those tabs. Just burnish that into position. It's much easier to do on the inside where you can actually see those tabs, and just make sure that's nicely joined together, and that gives us the basis of our box.
Wow.
There, we've got that there, all built together. You've got your vellum inside and you've got your 2 pattern panels on the outside. But let's then go back to a little bit more decoration. So don't forget, a little bit earlier on, we cut 2 of the medium-sized hearts. So we've got 1 left over, and we cut that smaller size of heart as well. And this is where they're going to come into play. So let's take some more of that Centura Pearl in that beautiful fresh white. Let's get our dotty tape pen, add that all over the back of both of these die cuts, and we're going to do a little bit of a technique which I absolutely love to give these almost like their backer. So take your scrap piece of cardstock, and that was a piece that we actually had left over when we were doing our trimming down for our box sides earlier. Sticking that die cut piece onto there, and then let's do exactly the same with our smaller die cut, just like so. Then to make this a little bit more manageable, let's just take our scissors and trim round, so we've got a smaller piece of cardstock to work with rather than having all that excess cardstock around the edge and almost like fighting with it. Now what we want is, we just want that detail, just have that white behind the die cut. We don't want a border around the edge. We just want all of those pieces, those lovely intricate die cut pieces, to have the white behind, so we can raise it up when we add this onto our box lid. So what we're doing is we're doing a little bit of undercutting. So I'm tilting my scissors to an angle, and I'm ever so slightly sliding them under the edge of that die cut. So what you want is, you want to ever so slightly sort of angle and make that die cut come away from the page ever so slightly. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to undercut all around the edge, just making sure that you're undercutting with your scissors at an angle. And what that's going to make sure is that you've not got any of that white cardstock showing at the edges of this die cut piece. Now you can draw around the piece first and then cut it out and then stick it down, but for me I find this is the easiest way to do it, to stick it down first and then just undercut around the edges of that design. And it gives you that lovely effect, just like so. If you turn it over, you can see you've come in slightly from the edge, but that's absolutely what we want with that undercutting technique. And it's going to be exactly the same with our smaller die cut hearts. So literally just angling our scissors, sliding them under that die cut just a little bit to make sure we've not got any of that white cardstock showing at the edges. I mean, of course, if you want a little white matting layer onto there, then absolutely just go a couple of mils out. But because for this we don't want a white mat around the edges, we just want that white cardstock showing through those die cut holes. All we're going to do is apply that sort of undercutting technique with our scissors, just like that. And there, nice and easily, we have got our 2 pieces all cut and good to go. Now at this point I'm actually going to build my box lid, and then I'm going to stick my couple of hearts on there afterwards. Just that way it makes it a little bit easier for me to see exactly where I'm needing to apply my tape onto my die cuts, just because they're going to protrude over the edges a little bit, and I don't want to add too much adhesive to the edges and then accidentally sort of adhere them to my box lid sides. So I find it's a little bit easier to do the construction part first, so build our box lid and then we'll add our hearts on afterwards. So all we need to do is just reinforce those score lines a little bit more. They're flattened down ever so slightly when we stuck our mats and layers down, but because they've been nicely burnished before, it's just almost like muscle memory, just a case of re-burnishing those score lines. So let's fold all 4 tabs together and then just give them a good pinch down to make sure that they are nicely adhered and nicely reinforced onto there. So the last one, just like that, making sure, oh, there's a little bit of red liner tape back in it, that stuff gets everywhere. honestly, there was one time I'd been in my craft room for a few hours, and I walked into my bedroom, I had a little look in the mirror, and I thought, what's that? My hairline. That looks a bit strange. Some red liner tape back in my hairline. But yeah, all fun and games. Now what we're going to do with this one is we're going to do something a little bit different, because we want to keep that sort of section in the middle without any of that white cardstock. So let's go in with our pokey tool, just to actually get an area that we can actually get our scissors in. You could be using a craft knife for this if you find it easier, but I have to say I do love my fussy cutting with a pair of scissors. But once again, it's one of those, it's horses for courses, it's whatever you find easiest. So first up, let's just remove some of that cardstock, remove some of the bulk from the centre, and I know it looks an absolute mess at this point, but this is just to make it a little bit easier when we come to do our proper cutting, if you like. So just remove some of that cardstock, and then what we're going to do is exactly the same technique as we did around the edges, that undercutting. So just sliding our scissors ever so slightly under that design, and then just cutting around the edge, just like so, to remove the centre. You could of course use the centre and leave that solid as we had the effect before, but because I want to actually nest that smaller heart on the inside, I just want to remove the middle of this heart. But of course, your project, your craft along, you can create this however you so choose. That option is entirely yours. How gorgeous would it be though to have this with the middle chopped out and have a little photo behind? I think that would be absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
It could be, of course, it could be a romantic photo for Valentine's, it could be a family photo, it could be anything at all, but these work great for photo frames, not just for your cards or your gift giving, your box making. Lots of options for scrapbooking with these as well, which I think is fabulous. So lots of versatility from this one collection of dies. So there we go, we've removed the centre section there. Then what we're going to do is we're just going to stick this onto our box lid. So let's bring in some of our foam pads. So we're going to need a couple on the top there, and you see it's a little bit easier now that the box lid is built. We can see exactly where we actually need to add those foam pads and where it's going to be stuck out over the edge, so we want to make sure we don't add any foam pads. For this section here, I'm just going to cut my foam pads down a little bit. Of course, you can be using the smaller size foam pads, but you can also cut down your foam pads if you only have the larger size in your crafty stash. Let's just position that, line that up onto there, make sure it's actually the sticky side down rather than the side. There we go. Yeah, Jamie's just reminding me in my ear. Just a couple, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I was on with Corinne. She did not, she doesn't like foam pads being cut down. So every time I was cutting down a foam pad, she was a little bit like, oh, just use a smaller foam pad, Lily. I was like, no, it's fine. So yeah, if you want to make Corinne be a bit on edge, that's the way to do it. Cut down your foam pads. Honestly, she couldn't be in my craft room with me, that's for sure.
I'm
I
always
do that all the
cutting
time.
down
Exactly,
foam
yeah.
pads.
I do exactly the same, but yeah, she didn't quite like it too much, which was quite entertaining. So of course then, especially after beating her on the mornings, play craft along, play crafts right even, I'd end up doing it a little bit more, I have to say, which was naughty of me, but it was quite entertaining.
Right, it's cheeky.
Absolutely. Let's pop that into the centre just like so. And then our box lid is going to go onto our box base. How easy was that? But what we're going to do is going to embellish it with some florals. So you could be leaving it plain like that, but we want to add a little bit more interest. I'm hoping we should have just about enough time to do just that. So we're going to bring in some of our lovely dies that we come with the decoupage topper pads. So this is our Precious Poppies. We brought these to you, I'd probably say about 2 years ago now. So I'm sure a lot of you guys will have these in your crafty stashes, or you could be using pre-made decoupage if you so choose, like our decoupage pads that we bring to you as part of the Sarah Signature Floral Elegance collection. That would work a treat as well. But all you do with these, super simple, is you take your dies and you take your topper pad, and all it is a case of doing is actually lining those up over the top and die cutting out that decoupage. So you start off with number 1, which is your base layer, which is that full design. So what we're going to do is we're going to line that up, making sure you can see that little extension of the die there where the number is, making sure that is lined up with that particular section there, and it's nice and even. So let's take that down, and then we're going to go in for our next one, which is going to be this section here. Again, you've got that little extension of the die, which is what you're going to use to actually line our die up onto that printed design. And it is really important that you've got plenty of low tack tape onto your die to make sure it doesn't move as it goes through the die cutting machine, especially as we are cutting several dies at once here. Then number 3, same once again. all we need to do is take our die, look for that little extension on the die, look for the number that we've got on our printed page here, and then line that up so you've got that even border, that even bleed around that edge there, and then just take that into position. And then finally, exactly the same for number 4. You can be die cutting your leaves and decoupaging them up, but just for speed for this project, we're going to miss out the leaves. I probably will be saving this sheet actually and using the leaves on another project as a little embellishment, but this is the sort of technique you will be using for the full flower, whether you're using the leaves or not. So all we need to do is run that through our die cutting machine. That's going to die cut all of those designs out. So not only are we going to have that beautiful die cut detail with all those debossed lines into those poppies, we're also going to have them coloured already by using that fabulous die cut decoupage topper pad. So one pass through the machine, and then let's just remove that. You can see, look at that. Gorgeous, isn't it? Absolutely beautiful design that you've got. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop those out, and then we are going to remove those from all of these pieces, just like so. And then we've got all of those layers. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take some of the dies. We're not going to use all of them because we're going to do a slightly smaller embellishment. So we're just going to remove that largest die, and then we're going to die cut all of the other layers. We want a couple of bouquets of flowers, but we don't want two larger bouquets of flowers. So what we're going to do is we're going to do layers 2, 3 and 4 through this particular sheet here. So let's take that die. Once again, same technique of lining it up just like so. So you're going to make sure that you've got that little extension of the die lined up all around the edge. Then we're going to do the same with die cut number 3. Be like saying, caller number 3, please. Die cut number 3 is going to go onto that just like so. And then finally, die cut number 4 is going to lay over the top, lining it up. And you can see once you get that technique, once you get that nailed down, it is so easy to do. You can die cut these so quickly, start to build up those layers, start to decoupage your flowers. Maybe you're just going to sit on an evening and die cut lots of flowers, decoupage them up, save them in a box or a bag for future projects, and you've got all of those ready-made embellishments all good to go. So let's run that through our die cutting machine, and that's going to form almost like our second bouquet if you want to sort of look at it in that way for our embellishments. We've got our layers of 2, we've got the 1 there, and we should also have the layer of 3 of our die cuts poppies as well. There we go. That just takes that out of the die nice and easily. And then what we need to do is just decoupage them up, and I believe we should be on track to finish this project. We've got about 10-15 minutes. I think we should be good.
Fantastic.
Time this all right. Whew.
Perfect.
I have to say, it's one of those, obviously you sort of time yourself creating it at home, but you never quite know. So it's nice that hopefully we should all fit this in within the time. I
have got a quick question for you.
Ooh.
If this is from Crafty Angie, if one wants to make a box that is 4 inches squared and 4 inches deep, what size cardstock should I use? This sounds like a GCSE maths question.
It would need to be too big, I think, for any of your cardstock. It would need to be, so if it's 4 inches square and 4 inches deep, it's 4, 8. No, you'll be fine, 4, 8, 12, 12 by 12.
12 by 12.
12 by 12, and score at 4 inches on all 4 sides.
Okay.
Yeah?
But what about the tabs? Would you not then? No, because you're putting it all in one go, aren't you?
Yeah. So you'll score it. You'll score on all 4 sides at 4 inches.
Yeah.
You'll trim into your edges and you'll take out your little triangles.
Perfect.
That'll be it. But of course, don't forget, for your lid and your base, score 1 on your box side of your scoreboard, 1 on your base side. Fantastic. And I always say, mark which one's which, because I always forget.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, so 12 by 12, score at 4 inches on all 4 sides. You will need to cut 2 of them, but exactly the same for both of them, because you'll be using your box base and your box lid side of your scoreboard.
Did you get a star in your maths GCSE?
I did.
Yeah. Why was I not surprised?
I have to say I did, yeah.
I would have been there going,
It's funny because
I have to phone a friend.
It's funny because maths doesn't come natural to me. To me, I was always, spelling was always my thing. I could always spell. Was a lot better at English, and maths never came natural. It took a lot of practice. I couldn't do my times tables for love nor money. Could do about my 3 times table, and that was about it. So yeah, it's taken a lot of practice to get these maths skills up to date. I'm certainly no Corinne Robinson, that is for sure. But when it comes to spelling and grammar, you know I'm terrible. You know what I'm like. I like to pick up lack of apostrophes. Oh, we've had an extra letter in there. I'm awful. Poor Jamie in my ear knows, because I check all of the craft alongs for spellings and everything else. So yeah, I'm a little bit of a nightmare when it comes to that.
And they're talking about getting rid of apostrophes, aren't they?
Are they?
Yeah, they're saying that they think they're a bit redundant, and there was talk about just removing them, which I think is bad.
I'll be honest, I think they're one of the hardest things in grammar to get right, apostrophes.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think they're quite difficult when it comes to grammar, yeah. Yeah, I've always found those a little bit more tricky, I have to say.
Well, we don't follow rules really, do
No.
we, the English language? We just
Well, they say we've got a rule, and then every other word sort of books that trend, doesn't it? So it's like, well, there's no point having a rule in the first place, was there? It's daft, it's absolutely daft. Bringing it back to crafting though, I'd always say no rules in craft. There you go. Keep our rules in grammar, keep our rules in maths, no rules in craft. I always say if it looks right to your eyes and you've enjoyed making it, then absolutely it's right.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's all about. All about enjoying that process, all about building up that design and just losing yourself, whether you've only got a couple of minutes to craft on an evening, maybe you're just doing a little bit of colouring before you go to bed, or whether you've got the full day, you're going to get lost in your craft room for hours on end. It's just about enjoying creating and making something that you can be really proud of. And then if you can gift that to someone and somebody treasures it as much as you've enjoyed actually creating it, then even better, quite frankly. That's what it's all about for me. So there we've got our two decoupage pieces. So we've got one that's that full design and we've got one that's sort of partial design. Then all that finishing touch is going to be for our project is just to add these onto our box itself. So let's take some foam tape. We're going to pop this down the centre section of our sprig of poppies. So that's going to go on that left hand side, just like so. Just to finish that off and fill out that design a little bit more so it's not sort of so stark white on the edges of this. And then we're going to balance that on that top right hand side, making sure my lid's on properly so I can see exactly where it sits so that this is going to be lined up perfectly. I'm going to pop this design onto that top right hand side. Let's bring in some more of our foam pads. So we'll have these onto some of our flowers like so. I have to say I chose my pattern papers first and then I noticed the poppies within the design and I thought, you know what, I've got a perfect set of dies and decoupage topper pads that will work absolutely ideal with these pattern papers.
Do you ever find that you look in your crafty stash and think, gosh, I've forgotten about that?
Oh my goodness me, all the time.
All the time.
All the time, especially for pattern papers. As we know, I've got quite a few, so yeah, all too often I look in my stash and I think, oh my goodness, when did I buy that? When's that from? Why have I still got that? Why is that unopened? Come on, Lily, sort yourself out. But yeah, I think that's sort of like a little bit of an adventure sometimes. It's nice to discover things you'd forgotten about.
Absolutely.
But that is our finished craft along. Quite a simple project, quite actually an easy project to put together. You've got a little bit of die cutting on there, some really simple construction, and then those finishing touches, those embellishments are of course completely your choice. So if you want to add your flowers, go ahead and do that. If you don't, then that choice is yours. But that is our craft along for today. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. Please, I managed to fit it in all within the 2 hours. But if you do recreate that in your own time, or maybe you've crafted along today, please do make sure you share your photos because I absolutely adore seeing what you guys at home create and putting your own spin on the projects, which is what it's all about.
That is brilliant, Lily. Really love that. And bang on the 2 hours, really, let's be honest. Well done. Looks gorgeous. Now, we do need to see what our guest Stephanie has been doing. Stephanie, you said earlier you might be a little bit behind, but you're still keeping up more or less. You know where you are. Oh!
Oh, wow!
That looks lovely.
I love the vellum.
Is that gold vellum you've got there?
Yeah. And then I have the, here we go.
Lovely.
Slowly.
Oh, that looks gorgeous. I like that a lot. Have you enjoyed the...
I found some older printed vellum from Crafter's Companion, and I used that instead of just a solid. I was having trouble deciding which color. It's a deluxe. I could see it here.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Maybe somebody has.
I love that pad. I have to say, Stephanie, that was one I actually found myself the other day. So just talking about things you've forgotten about in your crafty stash, that for me, I found I've got a couple of those in my crafty stash. They're gorgeous, aren't they? And it looks amazing on your project. I love that.
Well, I'm getting there slowly, but
nearly there.
You know,
oh, it's been so lovely to have
been a fun project. I guess too, if you wanted to make it bigger, you could.
Yeah, of
I
course.
do have a question for you on the dies. There's
Yeah.
supposed to be a certain spot you could touch. Is there a way to find them so that you can remove the cut from the die?
So how
Or
do you know
release.
which is the waste and which is your die cut? Unfortunately, they look exactly the same from the reverse. So the die, I know it's one of those, it's a shame that they look exactly the same. So there's sort of no way of telling. I find I've got dies that are my favourites that I use time and time again. So on those dies that I use quite often, I'll sort of know because I can remember. But otherwise, it's just a case of being quite gentle when you poke it out, just in case it's not a release hole and it's actually a part of the die cut.
Okay.
Sorry, I know that's not much help at all.
That's it, but this has been really fun. I can't wait to finish it, put a tea light in it, and see how it looks.
Yeah, I cannot wait to see it as well.
Electric one, not the...
Yeah.
I don't want to burn it up
Yeah.
after all this work.
Oh, I cannot wait to see the finished project. Please do make sure you share a photo. And please make sure as well you join us for another craft along in future. It's been lovely to have you join us. So do have a look. So we'll be releasing February dates soon. So it'll be lovely to have you back, that is for certain.
Yeah, I was actually supposed to be scheduled with Becky for the dragon, and it got canceled.
Yeah, that was
So-
when I was ill, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but we haven't made it yet. It's still sitting in the all together because I've been working on other things.
It
you know.
sounds very familiar, that. Lots of unfinished projects. I'll start that next week. Oh, I'll start that. And they just mount up, don't they? You start working on something else, but we're all the same as crafters, aren't we?
Right. Being retired, I'm not really in any time pressure to get something done unless it's birthday cards for family. And we have a big family, extended family too.
Aw.
So
Lots of
always
cards
seems
to
like
make.
it's somebody's birthday.
Yeah, lots of cards to make, but it keeps us busy, doesn't it? Which is absolutely fabulous. Oh, well, I hope you
And I love, this has been my therapy since, oh gosh, I remember when Sarah first started with the Crafters, and it was before it was called Crafters TV. And she'd be on for maybe 45 minutes, an hour and a half, a day or two a week.
Yeah.
And eventually it expanded, and all of you lovely people have been here to help us out.
Oh, bless you.
And I've learned a lot.
Oh, I'm so pleased that you've been joining us for many, many years. I'm the same. I've been following Sarah for many years, and I love just losing myself in my craft room. You can go in the morning. It doesn't matter what's happening in the world outside. You can just lose yourself in the creativity, which for me is what it's absolutely all about. It brings me so much joy, and I'm glad it's the same for you as well. It's so lovely to have you join us, and I hope you keep crafting and join us again
All the
soon.
friends I've made along the way, it's been great.
It's
So
such a lovely
hello,
community.
everybody. I haven't had a chance to chat today.
Oh, oh. Oh, well, I hope you can join us back for the last show of the day as well. That'd be fabulous to have you join us. But you take care. It's been lovely to have you out on the craft along, and hopefully see you again very, very soon.
Oh, you will. Thank you.
Brill.
Thanks very much, Steph. Bye. Oh, that's lovely. It's always nice to see a face that we've seen so often in the name in the comments. It's lovely to see you on the screen. And thank you very much for joining us. Lots of love, not just for what you've made, but for what Stephanie's made. Rhonda says, looks fab, Stephanie. Can't wait to see a picture. Loads of people saying gorgeous. Joe says gorgeous. Jean says nice job. And everyone's loving what Lily made. We're going to say a quick goodbye to Steph. So bye, Stephanie. We'll see you in the comments later on today in the last show, because we've got one more show. We've got Masterclass, and it's about Nature's Garden.
We certainly do. I've heard, don't worry, on this one there's no quiz. It's all about the crafting and all about the deals on this one, and I'm super excited. I say it time and time again, love my Nature's Garden collections. I might be a little bit of a hoarder of those as well, but we've got some amazing collections coming up on the show tonight. We've got Vintage Rose, we've got the fantastic Kingfisher on there as well. We're even going to be looking at the Delightful Daisies, so I'm super looking forward to that. 4 demos, hopefully going to pack in for the last 2 hours of the day, so I hope you can have a little break for an hour, but join us back here at 6 o'clock UK time. It's going to be a fabulous last 2 hours of the day. I can't wait already.
Absolutely. And do remember, if you are shopping today, do have a look in that outlet sale. We've only got things there up until the 26th of January, so we're coming towards the end of all those great goodies. And as Lily was saying, there's all sorts of things in there. If you're like Lily and a bit of a paper pad hoarder, you will find plenty of deals in there for you. I do hope you've enjoyed today, and do remember to tag Lily in your makes and myself. It's always nice to see what you've been making. We're going to have a quick break for about an hour's time, and we will see you back for Masterclass, and it's all going to be about Nature's Garden. Looking forward to that. Bye-bye.